second part is called Evaluation of Digital Public Services. This is, let me see, this is really a presentation based on the work from my colleague, Svein Ødnes, and Arild Jansen from University of Oslo. Svein Ødnes is at the conference now, so the best would have been if he had taken it, but I'll do my best. I know quite much of the background, and I have some of his publications. So. This presentation is built on, it's quite an interesting background because it started with an EU project that has had quite interesting results. Then there is quite many years of results from the Norwegian Directorate for e-government and IT. And then there are some learning and recommendations we must use in our project also. I think this is a bit more general than the previous one. The previous one is really our case in the Improve project also, and it has quite important regional effects and regional development effects. This is more a general thing that goes into basically web services from public sector, but goes into how to improve quality of the web services. The starting point, there should be a map, European map there, but you can imagine there is a map behind the dots. We had a quite big project called Titan Digital Sites. It was in the, I think it was the fourth or fifth framework program, research program in the EU. It was a collaboration with the Highlands and Islands of Scotland, with Tuscany in Italy, and with South and Midwest Ireland. And there were actually 27 partners here. It was this kind of mix between industry and public sectors and so on. And we were the coordinators, project managers of this. It was quite a big project. And it was it was about maps. So this is an old screen dump. The maps and GIS systems was a theme before here. But this was when maps, or real digital maps on internet was totally new, and the integration of public services was the theme. How to combine, how to integrate services, user-driven services. You can combine services from many public sector organizations, and it's still the same things are being discussed these days. But the important thing about this project is that there were 5 regional partners here. And there were 2 key results from the project. One was a company that was working with maps and GIS and internet. They are still alive and are about 10 people. And there was a public portal called Norway.no, which was a result out of this. And that was linked with the Sogn County governor, which was very much involved in the project and very interested. So there were jobs created out of this, and that portal, this was a portal to public information based on the principles from the project. And that was, again, after some years, converted into a directorate, an agency. It's called DP, it's the Agency for Public Management and E-Government in Norway. And based on this, there are now actually 97 people working in our region in Leikanger for this directorate, and there are some 200 in Oslo. So this is really, I have to say, this is the EU project. You have the highest results, or the most tangible results when it comes to new jobs, both private sector jobs and public sector jobs. And then what happened was that when this, maybe I go back, when this Norway.no portal came, we also started an activity to evaluate the services, the quality of the services, so seen from the users and seen from, standardization perspectives and so on. And that started and has actually been going on since 2001. So it's a lot of results, a lot of empirical data we can use. And we, that was University of Norway Research Institute, together with this new public sector system, we developed the methodology and the first set of criteria. It has then been taken over by this agency and has been run since then. It's an annual evaluation. It's called Quality at Net, and it's an evaluation of municipal services, regional services, and also state services. Every year the results are published, and they get some stars, 1 to 6 stars. And the ones that get maybe 5 or 6 stars are very proud, and the other ones, they want to do something to improve their activity. It's basically looking at user-friendliness, functionality, content updates, and so on. It's not very revolutionary, but that is more like trying to have a complete set of issues that's important to these websites. This is the criteria set that is just now working. This is the criteria set for 2015. It is also based on EU framework, but there are national adaptations. There are 6 main criteria. It's about easy to find, easy to understand, but there are 2 sub-criteria. It's trustworthy. You have to see that this is a public sector system, you find what you need, and so on. Safe to use. It's working well. There are 7 sub-criteria, and easy to use. There are 12 sub-criteria. And also easy to get help, follow-up. There are 2 sub-criteria. And then there are points for each of these, and you have a score, and the result is then converted into 1 to 6 stars. And then it's published every year, how many stars each municipality gets, and so on. Here are some examples when it comes to this criteria, where you have like the simple one, the information provision, which is an availability, the quality of data, updated, market date, and so on. You have the 2-way communication, the usability, ease of use. Is the service available now for mobile user? Responsive design. Security, of course, is very important. Privacy. Transparency, and security again, of course. Then it's national security solutions are used. So all of this is evaluated. There may be some interesting things when we looked at the scores for different types of municipalities. This is a check at 2 different years, and we see the score for the smaller municipality, which we then look at is less than 5,000, and if you look at our region, that would be, most of them would be that. And the medium size will be up to 20,000, and the large municipalities will be more than 2,000. You see that the scores for the bigger municipalities, they are better than for the smallest one. You can also see that the points, the results are getting better, the scores are better, even if the criteria is also a bit stronger for each year. We should try to lift them up. If they have a 6-star result one year, it doesn't necessarily get it the next year, because the criteria is always taken a bit higher. But it's a positive development. But the smaller ones, you can see that they might need more help. That's also an interesting thing, the feedback to this regional type of ICT organizations, where we can organize these small municipalities, where they can have extra input, they can learn from each other, and so on. They even work together on developing these services. And at the end of the day, this is important, because it's about giving better services to the users, to the inhabitants. One other thing here, we looked at the type of indicators over the years. They are about the same. They are not changing very much in type of indicators. They are more tight, more demanding, but the main categories and the number of indicators are about the same over the years. But then we come to some of this, the experiences here. When we look across the evaluations, and we've also been looking at other countries, the evaluation system. And it's really a question what quality is measured in the various benchmarking systems. There is now 10, 15 years of evaluation and benchmark practice in Norway and in many other countries. But we also see that the evaluation systems across countries are not really compatible. They are made differently, and the ranking differs clearly between the countries and between the systems. Of course, it's based on different approaches and methods. Some use like questionnaires and interviews, some use expert users. In the Norwegian system, it's very much expert users going and test the system. It's also quite different what can be measured and the purpose of the measure, as we'll see in the next example. And it's also this social democratic reach of the evaluation. What's the scale of it? What's the area for the research, and what is the involvement of the organization? So it is not that easy as it could look like. It's quite difficult, and they measure quite different things. And also, what is quality? The understanding of quality here is very much linked to fulfilling goals, of course, but it's also supporting political priorities, very often political priorities. And if you look at our municipalities, they have quite many different goals. They have to serve the democratic ideals. It's about openness, it's about access to journals, to decisions, but it's also about service delivery. And it's about efficiency, as we saw in some of our e-health services. And these goals, they are not compatible always. So you need to look at how it's addressed, you can look at different methodologies to access it. And this explains why the results are quite different. The real-life systems, then that requires that we combine different approaches. We have to have the formal methods when it comes to measuring metrics. We have to have the more heuristic-based evaluations, which is more the expert-based, where you go in and test it from the outside. And we also think that the user testing, usability testing, is very important, combining all this. And it's important to design good user scenarios, and then different user settings have to be evaluated. And there are a lot of different services, and there are a lot of different scopes of what is going on. We have also believe that the mild kind of standardization could be useful, especially on the approach, on the methodology, the criteria set, and also to make sure that the public bodies follow standards. It could be the formal standards, or it could be recommended standards. By trying to synchronize it across countries, it will help quite much. We also see that in this area there is, of course, a need for more research. It's not surprising, maybe, especially on the methods for quality assessment and how they are combined to meet different user needs. And at the end, we also have to measure the real users, the effects of the users, not only this expert and the standardization approach, but is it really fulfilling the needs of the users and solving the problems? And then again, this will be results that could help the practitioners and the decision makers to see the usefulness of it. I think that the purpose in this project is that we can probably use some of these methods to look at the new services produced and see how it can work with different types of services and different types of user groups. This is then some of the references where my colleague has been working with this, publishing some articles around it. I can send this around, and you can also find it on our website. I think that's what I had on this. Maybe you have some questions. I can try try to answer them, but you can also link up to my colleague on this. I could also send you an update on this 2015 indicators from the Norwegian side, which is it's quite detailed. But that's a document that is referencing all the sub-criteria, which could be useful to see. I can forward that. It is basically for web services. It started with this portal and is linked to what is available for municipalities and regional level. But I think some of the key elements would be quite similar also to other services. I think that could be maybe a discussion when we meet and look at the practices across the regions. We can go into these sub-indicators and look at what could be taken out and be used on a more general basis.